Shane Scheel, welcome to Cultural Attaché.
Thanks for having me, Craig. So good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So, because I'm one of the OG who was around for the early days of For the Record, I can't imagine that when you're just jamming with Tracy Toms and a few people, you know, about music that you loved from films, that you could have ever imagined that you would be sitting where you are right now.
No, I have to say that like early on in the old jamming with Tracy Tom's days at show at bar is what we called it. We had to give LA something that they could remember, a show in a bar. That's what we do. But Tracy and I were doing these shows in a bar, and someone asked me, "How would you take that experience and travel it around?" I go, "Well, I guess you have to buy a tent." Well, we did. We made a tent. And so no, I couldn't imagine that this would be the tent. This would be the story, and this would be 15 years of my life. This is like really uh the soundtracks of Hollywood have become my life's work. And this community of performers that we've built and the artists that have come together from designers and everyone, like that story, so many of those people are still part of it. You know, that is, we've grown, we've gone a lot of places, but returning home to LA in our very first home, this is the real home. We've been kind of vagabonds for a while.
Yes, you're not in somebody else's space trying to make it work for you.
No, this is definitely every single inch of this place was designed with 15 years of experience and knowledge of what has worked, what people want. And I think that more than ever, people want to escape into something completely different. And that, there's not an overnight situation that we just said, let's build this idea. No, it's everything from our history is poured into this place.
Well, a man who knew a lot of things about tents was obviously P.T. Barnum. And he is
Yeah.
quoted as having said, "No man has a right to expect to succeed in life unless he understands his business, and nobody can understand his business thoroughly unless he learns it by personal application and experience." What have these 15 years of your journey with For the Record taught you that helped guide you into the creation of this iteration of For the Record?
First of all, I love that quote. What what has that 15 years had taught me to this point? It's really, you know, we're in the business of people. We're in the business of entertaining people. We're in the business of just listening to what works, what doesn't work. And I think so few projects have the ability to have this kind of organic growth. This idea was just getting some people together at a bar and singing not show, soundtracks. Uh, Very, very talented people that I happen to be blessed to know. But I think that so many projects have to just go from 0 to 100 in a very quick period of time, whether you're opening a restaurant or a mom and pop business. But we've been able to slowly piece this thing together from one experience to the next. It's a long journey. Sometimes it's a frustrating journey, but that ability to grow and learn and build new relationships over time really led to like this thing. So I think that it's just I've been very fortunate to have people that have supported me along the way, continue to cheer me on, believe in this little idea, and the idea just keeps getting bigger and greater. And yeah, so that yeah, time, experience.
So for something to get bigger and greater means that you have to get more and more people involved or more and more money involved. I know that there
Yeah,
was a story in Forbes last year about this iteration, CineVita. And at that
yep,
point, you were capitalized to $4.3 million, dollars, and there was still an additional two outstanding. Have you
yep.
reached full capitalization? Is that the only way you could do this?
We are still raising, but we knew that so we have to there's a bit of a you'll build it they'll come, right? That includes not only the audience, but the investment that we're still out there putting because that full capitalization was to build a series of shows as well. So we built the structure, we built the foundational team, and now we are making the content that will fill this place. So we will continue to raise money for each of the shows and eventually fully be capitalized.
So if I remember correctly, I was trying to remember. I think I came up with 9 or 10 shows that you've done that I have seen.
Yeah.
Because you did Tarantino, Scorsese, Baz, John Hughes, which became Brat Pack. So I don't know if those are counted as one show or
Yep.
two.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cohen brothers, the
Yeah.
Marshalls,
Yep.
Zemeckis. You have the Love Actually show, which is under the For the Record banner, but not this format.
No,
So what am I
not the
missing?
classic version. We call those the signature. The Marshalls. Did we talk about that one?
I did mention the Marshall.
And okay, the Marshall, Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's right, P.T. Anderson.
Yeah,
That's what he's called in the
which
business.
is one of my favorite ones. It's the niche one, but it is one of my favorite we ever did. It's one of those that's like we'll get back to it someday. But Magnolia, Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood. It was a very fun experience.
And also the raunchiest of the shows that you have.
And yes, everyone, who knows? Depends on what your level of raunch is. But yes, porn. We do porn cabaret. It's okay.
Hmm. So you're doing a small season in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You've got three shows that you're doing here, right? You're doing Tarantino, Scorsese, and Brat Pack.
And more. So I have some news.
Okay,
Some news.
please.
We're gonna sit down in Los Angeles for the rest of the year. We're gonna be based here at Hollywood Park, next door to SoFi Stadium, and we're gonna set up here to for a full year so we can really develop as much content as possible that then we'll be able to take on the road and the official tour, which is their long format tour. So we'll be in each city for 6 months, and we'll be running multiple shows in each market.
Is that going to be sort of in repertory where you could have Tarantino one night, Scorsese the next, and Baz the night after that?
There will be some version of that. It's there will be a cast that for each of the shows. There will be some crossover, but the idea is that we would run several weeks of a show and then switch to the next show, and we would be in a marketplace doing and flying different people in and out. There is a version of this where we will have a cast that could do two shows simultaneously. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, you would see the Tarantino show. On the weekends, it becomes the Scorsese show. We have a lot of different versions of this, which is one of the reasons we need to stay here in LA a little longer to build the company, build the touring model. And the good people here at SoFi Hollywood Park have made a home for us for the rest of the year.
That's great. Congratulations.
It's
How much
dream.
are the shows changing from what you most recently did with them or how they first originated?
Well, the best part about them is they're living, breathing things. We don't have to lock something in and say, here's the show. This is definitive. Oftentimes over the years, as you know, a new film will come out, a new soundtrack will come out, and we need to incorporate it. Other times we just learn a better way of putting the set list together. Uh, that's the beauty of being able to return to these things over and over and being forced. In some ways, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every time you put up a show, but oftentimes we have to anyway because of the market that we're in, the venue that we're in, the vibe of it. Sometimes a proscenium show feels like it should be one thing versus in the round. What this particular venue is allowing us to do is see these ideas fully, completely baked with all the ideas that we've had for food and drinks, the way the service happens, the way people walk up to the venue like they're walking a red carpet. We're able to create the full experience for the very, very, very first time. Every night here is like going to a movie premiere and stepping back in time. And that was always the dream. But you're only limited to what your venue is, you know? So but we wouldn't have even known that 15 years ago that this was the idea. It's just become this.
You had an opening night, and then LA
Yeah.
had a lot of tragedy going on.
Yeah.
And so you had to postpone, shows, things like that. Are there other hiccups that you've discovered in the first, few weeks of this version that you think are the biggest learning lessons for moving forward?
Well, the tragedies of the fire and everything, that is like that was the latest in the in the journey to this point. First of all, we were a mom and pop business that never took on investment until this moment. So learning how to raise an investment was the first like wake up call. You have to go talk to a lot of people. You have to sit down, you have to present. We've always been self-funded. We would take from one production, put into the next one, and we liked it that way. We wanted to be the small mom and pop shop that just kept on building. Doing this level of a production was nothing that I had a, checkbook ready to write, but that was the first kind of learning thing. And I've been very, very fortunate to bring people on that journey. Once we got the tent built, which is a 2-year process to do everything, and I can talk a little bit about what the CineVita is and the nuts and bolts of it. But once we built it, then it came bringing it from Belgium here. And what I've realized is that climate change is real. uh, we first of all, there was a dock worker strike on the East Coast, and we had to pull our shipment because we had a deadline to reach. Initially, it was going to be open before the holidays. And so we had to pull that. We had to find another ship to get directly to LA. Once we got on that ship, they encountered the hurricanes, and then they encountered the backup at the Panama Canal. And so this thing has been, we're going to open November. Then it was December. Then it was January. And then right before opening is when the LA fires happened. And it was definitely the right move, even though we weren't directly affected. Our friends, our family, our community. It was definitely the right move to move this thing. And we opened Valentine's weekend. And I thought this is appropriate. This here is appropriate. It's a love letter to LA. What we've built here is from the hearts and the support of the people in Los Angeles. So, on top of that, we're able to work with local theater companies and help build them back up in those markets in Altadena specifically. And we're going to be around for the community that we live in. So, the learning curve for the most part, we anticipated a lot of this because we have a really, really, really wonderful partnership with the Belgians who have trained us in so many ways, taught us so many things because they've been doing this for 100 years. So yeah, weather is the biggest thing apparently.
And I assume you don't serve French fries. You serve pommes frites if you serve them at all. You don't want the
Belgian.
Belgians are the ones who came up with them, not the French.
Yep. Correct. And so we're very particular about, we call them for this particular show, the Fox Force fries, but they are truly authentic Belgian fries.
Which are the best
And
if you
we serve, they're the best. They're the best. I even, while in Antwerp, I was, no, in Bruges, I got to know Belgium a lot over the last few years. We would go on a lot of trips to see and plan and dream and design. And I was in Bruges and went to the Fry Museum with Jennifer King, one of our original actors who went with me. And we always ordered French fries for the table during cast dinners. And we
you
went
have
to
your
the
full circle
ultimate fry
moment with
museum.
Europe. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it is. And there always has to be fries for the table at any For the Record show.
yes. And if I'm there, there has to be wine. But that's that.
That is,
There,
we got some good wine too.
there are some people who made a lot of money on my desire for.
Yeah.
Well, just a sidebar note here. Did you find Bruges as wonderful and as fascinating as I did?
Love it. I found Belgium. It's a place that I really wasn't on my list of places to go. Certainly Paris and Amsterdam, but that beautiful country in the middle that is uh, specifically the Flemish portion of Belgium is absolutely stunning. And I'm a kid from Kansas, grew up in farm towns, and driving through the countryside with the cows and the things. And we arrive at this little town called Mala, and then West Mala Brewery is right there, and the monks and it is just brilliantly beautiful, but all the little cities, Ghent and Brussels, big city, beautiful, lots of things there that we got to be inspired by, but like getting into the small towns and getting into the culture. And I would say meeting this family was truly the best part of the last 5 years, 3 years of my life.
You mentioned that the atmosphere is like walking a red carpet to a Hollywood premiere as people,
Yeah.
enter into CineVita. What other um, inspiration did you draw from either the film industry or from the way other shows are presented impacted the look and experience of being at CineVita?
Yeah, I think that outside of Hollywood, we've people don't have that experience. I can only talk about my sister and my niece that showed up on opening night and walked the red carpet. They got all dressed up. Oftentimes, anywhere outside, well, even in LA, we don't have the experience of, we've seen it in the movies a million times, but we wanted people to feel like they were stepping back in time to the golden age era to get a little dressed up. We're certainly not stuffy. There's nothing stuffy about For the Record. It's rock and roll. But to give someone that experience of walking the red carpet, and that's while we take this experience on the road, it is a little bit of a nod to what used to be. We certainly do the red carpets now, but it's not quite that same feeling that it must have been in the early days of Hollywood when you walk up to this palace, movie palace, and walk into that space and be transported. We're not the multiplex down the street. This is really patterned off of what the old uh, movie palaces on Broadway and downtown Hollywood must have been like. And so much of the inspiration is drawn from that in the design. So yes, we want the audience to really feel that. And that has been just like again, 15 years of us dreaming and planning and what do people want? And they want an escape. They don't want a stuffy night at theater. They want to just feel like they did something super unique.
Right. Well, if they wanted super unique, they should have seen the shows in the original shoebox, where we practically had to move to get out of the way. At least you have more
Yeah.
space here now.
Definitely have more space and the ability to kind of create the kind of the cinematic quality for the shows that they've grown into. But so much of this space is where we started when we developed this to be like there's no seat more than 30 feet away from the stage. It looks epic when you walk in, but the action's happening everywhere, and the center point of the room is 30 feet away. So it is it's recapturing that in the only kind of way possible to tour something. And that's what I that was the most important thing to Anderson and I, to give people that original feeling. We'll never capture it like you had it, but it is still that same type of thing. People coming to work, making shows, and and seeing old friends from me, seeing the audience members that have been coming for years. That is so like that's the point for me, the satisfaction of like getting together with your community and making something that feels super special.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the friends and family that you have as it relates to your cast.
Yeah.
You're in a very lucky place. Over 15 years, you've had a few Tony Award winners or people who went on to become Tony Award winners as part of the ensemble that has been part of For the Record. So I assume that there's a part of this where the success of For the Record, you know, gave birth to the success of artists who are probably no longer available to For the Record because of their other commitments. So, how challenging is it to get former cast members, who may still want to do this or, may be available? And what is the buzz about For the Record that excites people to audition and hope to become a part of For the Record?
Yeah, I at this point, we've been doing shows in Chicago, San Francisco, London, New York. We've done a lot of productions. People have come to this little family of probably 15, 20 people, or the core has grown to 300, 400 people around the world that have done a For the Record show. Um, so there's a lot of people that are at different places in their career at whatever time. When we specifically talk about Tony Award winners and people that make movies and our busy schedules, one of the great parts of this is the fact that they can come back home. There is always a home for them to go and scratch that little theater itch and be part of this. So there's always a revolving door of talent coming home. And I I think when we started, the only other thing that I understand, it's certainly the Steppenwolfs of the world that build these repertory kind of companies. But like I kind of like the SNL vibe of it. There's a specific kind of way that people do a For the Record show. They've been trained to do a certain type of thing. The way they interact with the audience, to break down that fourth wall, make it feel personal, reach out into the world. There's a style, and some people love that. Some people want a little space between them and the audience. And when they when they fall in love with the format and the genre that has become For the Record, they want to come back time and time again. And I love that schedules get busy. I love that someone has to go. Uh, there was one time, one trip to New York that I was there, and I was like, there's a For the Record performer in 6 different Broadway shows in starring roles. And that is so fun because we do find the most talented people in this city. Um, and the city's full of people from all over the world, but they come here and it's such a unique group of talent that LA has that didn't have a forum to go to. And to see them go on and do all the big things, or to see someone like Evan Rachel Wood come in and find this family and to go do more things, like continue on with her brilliant career. That's just been the thrill of a lifetime for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, from the people that I've seen come and go through For the Record over the years, it's like it almost feels like this is training for a Broadway career,
Yeah.
in a unique way versus trying
Yeah.
to get cast in a show regionally and then hope that somebody pays attention.
Yeah, it definitely is in the we certainly I call them vocal acrobats in my tent because the stamina to do these particular shows, it's heavy singing. It is intricate, like uh arrangements of songs. Like Anne Marie Milazzo, we got to know her about 5 years ago now, and she's doing the vocal arrangements for this. And she is the preeminent vocal designer on Broadway. She's exquisite and she approaches these shows in such a wonderful way. Jesse Vargas, who took over kind of from the Chris Bratton era, um, which Chris is still like the core of how we started this whole thing. He was such a piece of this, but the way the arrangements have continued to expand, the way that we've been able to bring people into this unique thing and bring like from the creative side as well. um I think that people build a stamina doing these shows. It's thrilling for me to watch. And then also just I will never take credit for someone's talent and the drive that they must have to be like it's so hard out there. And that this place can be this place where people come and they grow and they learn from each other. The actors become better singers and the singers become better actors. It's I think a unique forum.
Yeah, I don't think that the Broadway production of Moulin Rouge could have happened without people seeing For the it has to have been an inspiration. Certainly Baz's movie
Well,
stands on its own, but I feel like there's so much overlap in what they do For the Record on steroids.
Baz did come to the show. He sat there. He gave a speech afterwards. The next day, he did an interview. I think it was for the 10th anniversary of Moulin Rouge, and he said that he had seen a cabaret show then a couple nights before, and he was convinced that Moulin Rouge should finally become a musical. And it took another 10 years to get it to Broadway, but it's been fun for me to see Ashley Lauren, who did our show in Vegas, become Satine. She replaced Karen, and then Derek uh Klena would become the Christian, and really to see that there's been several of our Baz cast that have gone on to be in Moulin Rouge on Broadway, which is so fun.
One thing that people loved about seeing For the Record when you were in Los Feliz and in I'm sure in some of the other venues was that you encouraged people to post to social media, to take photographs and to have that as part of the experience. It helps spread the word about the show. I mean, it makes complete sense. You don't have that policy now, and I'm wondering if some of the people who have been staunch supporters are having any kind of response to the idea that that's no longer part of the experience.
I'm gonna get you down here because I'm not someone that's tapping people. Honestly, because we're in the cabaret environment that we are in, I love it to a point. And then it's become like your technology, when someone is not experiencing life because of these phones, that's where the line is. So I want people to come in, get that moment, experience this thing, share it with their friends. I think it's an important part of people's lives, their technology and capturing that moment. It's when it becomes distracting to the other people, when it becomes distracting to the artist, that's when you have to draw that line, I guess, somewhere. So, but we've created a space with lots of photo moments. Like there's something to take away. Every inch of this place is filled with some memory that you can make with your phone. And so we embrace it to a certain degree, but we're not like school marms.
Right. No, I mean it is listed on the website that photography isn't allowed. That's why I
It is
asked.
not.
It
It is
was.
not.
It
I
was.
don't know. No, I'm just saying it is not allowed.
Oh, what is this like gambling in Casablanca?
It is not allowed.
Um, you've worked with your core shows for a long time. How do you stay interested? How do you make this experience fresh for you as a producer?
Uh, I just keep dreaming. That's the layering is the thing that keeps it interesting. Certainly, the last 3 years, dreaming this up, building this thing has kept it super interesting. Before that, it was every little step that we've had, whether it was going to Vegas, I learned so much. Every time I do something I've never done before, I just keep learning, and the shows become better um, because we're forced to like grow. We're forced to like adjust things, figure out this thing. So it always is interesting. There's never a moment that you're like, oh, we've done it. We've seen it. Like I am drawn to the talent, the singing talent that exists in this world, specifically in Los Angeles. I am drawn to movies that I've always grown up. I would tell the story about me as a kid in my small town, taking the wagon down to the grocery store, the woman renting me a VCR and giving me two tapes to go home and watch movies on the weekend. I fell in love with the movies. I was the Wizard of Oz. I clicked my heels and I ended up over here in Los Angeles. And that is to me, I will never take that dream for granted. There's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity to go dream big like this. And so every day it's interesting to me. I love the city. I love the medium of film and music. And this is a unique place with all the best of those worlds. So it keeps it interesting. And I'm honored to be able to go to work every day and celebrate the things that I love and do it with the people that I love.
The rock and roll era didn't happen until the 60s.
Yeah.
But since I know how passionate you are about film, have you given any consideration to doing is perhaps long since deceased filmmakers and putting a rock and roll spin on their work? Because music from that era gets reinvented all the time.
All the time.
Seems like a rich opportunity for you.
Yeah, no, I'll take that. I'll put that one in the thinking cap. No, I do. I oftentimes want to go back and find the like classic films and reset them. And there's certainly a world in which that works. Um, yeah, that becomes a little bit different than what we do as far as like truly authentically celebrating the soundtracks. Some point you have to give yourselves rules, right? You give yourselves here's the sandbox that we must work within to be authentically for the record. And that is always the the music of the films have to support that. Those become different projects. And one of the beautiful things that we have with this venue is to expand, have our signature series and do some other things that really play into the Hollywood celebration of it all, whether that's a specific movie that we want to go celebrate or an era that we want to go create something with. So that idea is great. And that's why we have this space now to actually create it
Well, at least through the end of this year, at least in Los Angeles.
in Los Angeles. Yes, but
Yeah.
we'll keep it fresh.
Yeah. Now, I remember there were discussions at one point of doing a Coppola show. Is that still something that's on your radar?
A couple of
A Coppola show.
Oh, Coppola show. I
Yeah.
thought a Coppola show.
Yeah.
No, that's
Well,
very much on the. I want to be able to develop a lot more shows. I'll say Coppola is certainly at the top of the list. Spike Lee, I'd love to do a Spike Lee show. Um, what are some of the others? Oh, I really want to do all the Bond films, the soundtracks, the classic songs put together in a night of Bond. There's a bunch of things that we want to develop very badly, and we'll hopefully be able to do that.
one last question for you, Shane. What's for the record 2030 going to look like?
Hopefully I will have a vacation by then at some point. But in 2030, we will have taken this tent to we'll take the CineVita to at least at that point 9 cities that we will hopefully have taken our unique experience to some of the little pockets of America and have learned a lot and made a lot of new friends. And hopefully we have a lot more shows that are going on too. We're able to just continue to create here. So that's this is my life. I was told by the tent builders when you become a tent owner, you will live the tent, and that we are definitely doing that. But no regrets at this point for sure.